Hello and welcome to the Sheepish Podcast, a podcast where I share my creative projects, my thoughts and ideas, and generally chat to you about crafting. My name's Nikki and I'm going to jump straight in. I will say very quickly a welcome back to anybody who has watched my previous podcasts. There's been a big hiatus for various reasons, which I'm not going to go into. I will also mention that this is the second time that I've recorded this introduction. Oh, look at my hair. Wow. No, don't look at my hair. Oh, where I've attempted to anyway. And it turns out my camera was on time-lapse mode. So if I get the chance, I'll put it in at the end and you can see like that, which isn't actually that different how I talk normally. Anyway, enough of that. I'm going to jump straight in. I'm going to quickly explain, because I explained it before even though you didn't hear it, that it was my birthday in July, and each birthday to birthday I like to keep a to-do list of all the things I'd like to achieve, to get done, places I'd like to go, books I want to read, and so on. And the majority of that for me, let's be honest, is creative endeavours. And so what I've done now is I've split that down to September in an attempt to get organised, it being September the 1st. I have created, so this is my book with my to-do list, and currently I don't tend to add to it. So once I've made it, it's not an ongoing list. This is fixed now. This is 60 things, some of which I've already done. So you can see, I can't show you them all because some of them relate to presents for people. And I tick them off and get tremendous satisfaction as I tick them off. So I've created from that a September list, a September to-do list. So I thought, well, why not jump on? I've had some really lovely messages from folk over the last year saying they missed the podcast. So I thought I would jump back on just for you guys. Also, I love sharing. I really love sharing my crafting. I think there's nothing nicer than talking with like-minded people about your creative endeavours. And if I can't do it face-to-face, then I can do it face-to-screen. So that's what I'm doing. So this is my plans for September. It's not too out there. Some things are to be finished, some things are to be started. And there's probably a touch more sewing than knitting, but there's a bit of both. So those of you who are just in it for the knitting, you could watch the knitting segment. Those of you who like to watch both or particularly want to focus on the stitching, then obviously focus on the stitching. Hopefully you'll find something in it that you're interested in. If not, don't watch. Find another one. No, don't. That sounded really rude. So I'm going to start off with the knitting. Oh, I think I just jogged the table as well. Still as professional as usual. Right, okay, so first I'll show you an FO. I'm also wearing a hand knit. For the life of me, I can't think of the name of it, so I'm not going to go into the details. It's on my Instagram feed and it's by Jessie Maid. Yeah, can't remember. If anybody wants to know, leave a comment in the messages, leave a comment in the comments and I'll let you know. But that's not what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you this, and I'm not modelling it, but, so this is my finished Violet, she's called. It's not even the Violet tee, it's just Violet, but she is a summer top, a summer t-shirt. And I literally finished that this weekend, just gone. And hopefully you can see, I'm going to stand up so I may drop the table again, that lovely lace panel. It's a really unusual lace. I haven't seen anything really like this before. Really pretty. It's a drop shoulder. So there's very little in the way of sleeves. I mean, they're short sleeves, obviously, but little there. And then if you look at the construction on the back, you can see that the raglan, or the shoulder, actually goes, it's not a raglan, I beg your pardon, but that goes down the back. So the way you construct it is this is kind of your starting point, and then you knit upwards and downwards from there. Very nicely written pattern. There you go. Oops, got to remember which way to move with the camera as well. Really, really pretty. And I made it, it's the Violet Tea by Jessica McDonald. So if you have a look on Ravelry, that's where I got the pattern from. I don't know if it's available anywhere else, but obviously, you know, good old Google will let you know whether it is. Jessica McDonald Designs. It didn't come up with her on Instagram, so I don't even know if she's on social media or not. But yeah, that was lovely. And I made that using Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the ballerina colourway. And I really enjoyed it. It's the first time I've knit with a pure silk. Again, those of you who've known me for a while know that I have a bit of an issue, or I've historically had an issue with silk. I've always avoided, where I can, yarns that have silk in, because I felt that it wasn't produced very ethically. It wasn't very nice, the way the production worked. But times move on, technology moves on, obviously. And certainly, I think a lot of silk now is produced in a much more humane way. And I think, or harvested, I should say. It's produced by the silkworms or by the moths. Anyway, I'm not going to go into a silk lesson. And what used to happen was that the moths were bred in their cocoons. They were fed up so they were nice and fat with big cocoons. And then they were all destroyed so that the silk of the cocoons could be harvested. Whereas now, certainly with the Knitting for Olive silk, it's called barrette silk, and it's got, it's a little bit, it's not super smooth, but it's not it's not bobbly, but it's silk that's harvested from the cocoons after the moth has emerged and flown away. So as much as, you know, I'm not a big fan of moths, I have to say, but, you know, I didn't feel it was right to do what was being done with them. So I'm really pleased to have found that silk quite fine. Obviously, as I said in my Instagram post, those summer tops, wow, they take a bit of knitting, don't they, and fine yarn. But I did this one, which is also, this is in linen. Did this one, swore I'd never do another summer top, and then cast on for the Violet Tea. But I got two before I've thrown in the towel, and anyway, it's autumn now, so, you know. Lovely top, lovely pattern. The lace is very straightforward to knit, and I just think it's really nice. And it's a bit different, and I like the fact that it's a designer that she's, I don't want to do her a disservice, but I'm thinking she's probably not mainstream, so it's nice to pick up these patterns. I saw it recommended. I watched at the beginning of the summer, I watched quite a few podcasts that went through, you know, the 10 top summer teas to make, or my 5 favourite summer tops. And I think I picked it up off one of those. So anyway, that's that. So that was an FO. So I've cheated a bit, really. I've used some of my time to show you an FO. Let's get to my list, shall we? First on the list is a very long-standing whip. It's a pair of socks. I've totally lost my sock mojo, I'll tell you that now. Yeah, I've got about 4 or 5 pairs of socks sitting on the needles that I have got no excitement about knitting at all. So they're going to feature over the next few months in me attempting to finish them. So I'll put that out there. But these socks I have been making for a while, and they are fabulous. You know, but I just haven't felt like doing it. But September is going to be the month where I finish them. And they're from this. Again, those of you who've followed me before will remember I bought this book, Operation Sock Drawer, by the Knitmore Girls. Well, it's curated by the Knitmore Girls, so the patterns are from other designers. And the socks I began to knit, I've actually got my little, I did have my little card. There it is. When did I cast these on? 30th of July 2021. So that's about 2 years ago, isn't it? Just over 2 years ago. I've got things that have been on the needles longer than that, but for a pair of socks, really? Let me try and do something with this. This is, yeah, I'm just going to look into the viewfinder and nod at the screen. Anyway, I am knitting the Funhouse socks by Lisa K. Ross, who's got a lot of patterns out there. I thought these were great. I thought I needed, at the time, I thought I'm going to make some fancy schmancy socks because I thought, quite frankly, knitting plain socks is okay, but I could do better. I could have some really different ones. And when you look at that on the front, you think, yeah, I'm going to do this. Well, this is the first pair and it's taken me over 2 years. And the ridiculous thing is, oh, this is my Stephen and Penelope bag. I bought this at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, or whenever the last one was, pre-COVID that was. So, sock number 1, sock number 2. I've got probably that much left to knit. Honestly, I should be ashamed of myself, really. Really should. Let's show you this one. I'll put it on my hand. Show you the lovely colour work. There you go. I mean, I absolutely love this. It doesn't really do well on your arm, does it? I've done this before. Oh yeah, and it's got colour work on the underside of the foot. Like that. I mean, it's beautiful. The yarn is, I chose a solid from Hue Loco, a tweedy solid, which is the sky, that's the sky colourway, and it's her tweed sock. I'll find you the label just to do the right sort of thing. So that was Hue Loco. Again, these are obviously good, probably 3 years old, these colourways, so I don't know if she still does those. And then this one, which is a stunner, an absolute stunner. This is from the Yarn Badger, and it's a self-striping, sparkly yarn, which I'm using as the contrast colour. So you can see where it's naturally changing colours. As if the sock wasn't going to look amazing enough, you've got your self-striping in there, which makes it look even more amazing. So, on my September list, that is a project to finish. Oh, that's rather nice. Look at that. That Progress Keeper. It's a waffle. I've got to finish that foot. I mean, come on. So now I've got accountability, you see. Putting it out there, and I want you guys to hold me accountable. So that's project number 1. Finish, for goodness sake, Nicola, that pair of socks. Funhouse Socks by Lisa K. Ross. Great book. Love this book. Would love it even more if I had a sock mojo going on, but maybe it'll come back. Well, it will. These things always come back, don't they? So there you go. First on the September list. Okay, second knitting project on the September list is an ongoing thing. It's not a finish because I'm nowhere near finishing, but a couple of years ago, 18 months ago, I think it was, I started a mitered square blanket, a cozy memory. I think it's called the Coziest Memory. And I was collecting all the Squiddle Village colourways from Lay Family Yarn from Kelly. And they were releasing them once a month with a delightful sort of story behind it. And I did actually, oh, I won't find it, keep a notebook with all the story developments in it that Kelly used to put up. But then she stopped putting them up on the website, and I think she was doing it, you had to subscribe to the newsletter. I'm not sure but the story stopped anyway, which was a shame because I was really loving those. I think I missed the boat there. Anyway, I bought all the packs of minis because I wanted the whole blanket to be Squiddle Village. It was also a prayer blanket. So I was making the point as I knit each square that I would pray over a friend, over a situation, over family, anyone who came to mind as I was knitting. So it kind of made it a bit more special for me. Anyway, as these things do, it got put to one side when I started doing something else because I'm a bit of a, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I like having lots of things on the go, put it that way. But I've wobbled the camera again, sorry. We've got a new table and it's a little bit less sturdy than the last one. I recently finished a hand-stitched quilt, a hand-stitched hexagon quilt. Again, sorry to keep saying that, I'll put it on Instagram. I'm not planning to show it to you today, that'll probably be next month. But I thought, look, that's taken me 18 months and I knew it would take me at least 18 months because it's a huge project to hand stitch. Why not try and finish my blanket and again do it a bit at a time, tackle it, take it small bites of the elephant, as my dad always used to say. So, still says, I should say, it sounds like he's not here anymore, my dad says. So I'm just going to stand up and show you. Now I am again halfway through a square, so where I have got to there. So I had done, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd done 7 rows, but let's just show you because I don't believe in doing small. There. So I've done 7 rows and 15 columns. That's how. I can't really show you any better than that. Oh, there you go. Da, 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 da. And as you can see, I mean, most knitters, I think, probably know the pattern, the mitered square pattern. So it's a join as you go, and all these colourways are from Lay Family Yarn. I'm just on this one, the purple. So I'm on row 8, that's right, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I'm on row 8. And here's my chair. My target for September is to get rows 8 and 9 knit. So in total that'll be 30 squares. That's my target. I've got a ridiculous issue with this. These last few squares, so obviously it's very straightforward, it's garter stitch. So, you know, it shouldn't be a problem. But what I find I'm doing is I'm slipping into stockinette. So this one, for example, I got to the end, so I got to this top bit and found 4 rows of stockinette right in the middle. So pulled all that back. And then I did it on this green one. So I really have to remind myself that this is all garter stitch. It's not stockinette. So they took me a bit longer than they probably should have. I think doing 1 square takes me around about 35-40 minutes. You know, they're small, but I don't find them quick. They're not quick to knit. So I'm trying to do 1 or 2 a day. 30 to do should work, shouldn't it? So today I'll be finishing that lovely purple. Really like that. And that's my lemon meringue pie stitch marker. That's to show me the side that I do the decreases on. And then I've got my chocolate brownie. Oh, can you see that? Yeah. So that marks where I've picked it up again after the break. So next podcast, I want to put 2 more rows on that because it's lovely. It's really lovely. And can we just take a moment? I have been up until, when I put down, sewing the ends in as I go along. No ends. There's no end of end. So yeah, really pleased with that one. I haven't got the actual, oh, there you go. That's the pattern I'm basing it on. So the Coziest Memory, there, by Kemper Ray. There are lots out there and lots of other people are knitting them. I got the idea for the kind of the patchworky effect from my friend Jules, who's So Sweet Violet. She's made one like this and I just thought I loved it. So that's another item for September. I've got a whole bag full of minis. So each row is a month. I should have said that, shouldn't I? Each row of this blanket is the month that the minis were released for the mini club. And each row has the story. That's what I was talking about. So I'm obviously on January, February, March, April, May, June, July, but I'm not on July because there were, okay, there's 10 colourways in the mini pack. This is chapter 9. So there's 10 and I need 7 or 8 per row depending because I alternate with the cream. The cream is just a drops alpaca. I don't have a new ball here to show you, but it's just a cheap and cheerful drops alpaca fingering weight and I love that, really like that yarn to knit with. So I always have either 2 or 3 left over. So I put in an extra row with the leftover ones. So although I've got 7 rows here, that's not 7 chapters, that's probably 5 or 6 chapters, so I've got another 7 or 8 to go. Did you get that? Anyway, that's another one that you can hold me accountable to. I promise, I solemnly promise, I will not move that progress keeper. So this is the first of the 2 rows, so I need to have 1 more row on top of that by the end of September, a finished row. So that was that. So that's the other big knitting thing. Apologies, I'm talking myself dry as usual. And then, because I'm me, yesterday I was getting all excited about knitting again. I've got a couple of really exciting projects. One very big, exciting garment project. But again, I'm not going to cast that on yet, so I won't share it with you just yet. But I did, can't think, I was Instagram. It was one of those things when I was scrolling through Instagram, saw a sweater, absolutely loved it, bought the pattern and cast on because I had the yarn in my stash. That doesn't happen terribly often. I've got stuff in my queue that I want to knit. Not a lot because I've really pared things down. I've been much more mindful about the projects I'm making and whether they suit me and whether they're what I want. But I saw this. I really like Thea Coleman's designs, who is Baby Cocktails. That's her nom de tricot. And I saw this and I thought that was absolutely lovely. And it's the 1908 top by Thea Coleman. And the thing is, at the age and stage I'm at, I do seem to get quite hot a lot. That's what I'm going to say. And, you know, in the Northern Hemisphere, we don't get that cold. Not in the UK anyway. So, as much as I love really big sweaters, I'm not going to knit a complete abundance of them because I never get the chance to wear them. But this, it will be warm. It's in worsted weight yarn, but it's short sleeve. You don't have to knit short sleeves. You can knit it long sleeved. But I also love the idea that it's slightly cropped. I can wear it over one of my dresses. Really, really lovely. And I haven't knit cables in a long time. And I do like cables. And I find them a bit of a challenge. Love lace, absolutely love lace, absolutely adore colour work, but I've never really jumped in big time to cables, so I thought it was about time. So I cast it on yesterday, so I have made massive progress. Yay! It's like a pizza. Have you ever eaten in the middle of a pizza and left the crust? My son did once, and we've got a photo of him. with the completely intact crust because we're a bit sad like that. Anyway, that's how far I've got. I've done the first round. It's bottom up, it's knit bottom up, and it's yeah, bottom up to the armholes, then you knit flat, and then you join and knit the sleeves in the round. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the yarn to show you, and this is Durerum Natura Gilead, so it's their worsted yarn in this absolutely beautiful raspberry colourway. Oh, you can see it's a bit of, I've got a bit of a thing going. I love this colour. I don't know if it's coming out so well on the screen. It's very muted. It's sort of slightly cloudy. It's a cloudy raspberry. And its colourway is Bois de Rose, which seems to suggest it's rosewood. But that's the yarn. French yarn. I believe it's French merino, merino d'Arles. Bio, so that's, I think, organic. Plus a bit of merino from Portugal. It's, again, I believe it's woolen spun. So it's lovely and light. It's a bit kind of Brooklyn tweedy worsted. It's got that lightness about it. Very reasonable cost point. I bought this from Yarn and Knitting in Brighton several years ago. I've got a couple of stashes. I've got this one, and then I've got the pale pink, the beautiful pale pink. But I love that, and I had enough in it to knit this top. I think I needed five balls, and I think I might have 6. I'm not sure. So yeah, and it's 4mm needles, and oh no, sorry, 4.5 on the main body of the cables, and I'm knitting the 5th size. Oh, I really stress about sizes. Not so much because of gauge, a bit because of gauge, but also because what size do you know, it's measuring and sizing, and there's so many things that can alter. You know, this one was meant to be oversized, so I knit it oversized, but I've seen it on someone where it's not so oversized and I really like it. So it's making that choice about whether you want it oversized, whether you want it with very little positive ease. But anyway, I've opted for the 5th size, which is, I think, 48 3/4 inches around the bust. And my bust, I think, is about 44, so I've allowed 4 to 5 inches of positive ease, but I also have, my gauge airs on the small side, so that gives me a bit of flexibility. Anyway, that's what I've started, so I'm going to be working on that. I'd love to finish it this month, but we'll have to see. So you don't have to really have a go at me for getting that finished, but I do need to progress it, because there is another, like I said, I've got this epic sweater I want to start when the winter months hit us. I'd also mention that I've got it, I'm keeping that in my Noodlehead bag. It is Noodlehead, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's Noodlehead. Which I made, which I was really excited about. It's in waxed cotton. You can see, actually you can see on the back, and it really, if you screw it up, it sort of distresses nicely, and it's very pliable, very soft. I've got leather handles, and then it's got the slip-in pocket at the front, it's got the zip, and then it's got this inner bit here, which I've made, and then quite spacious in there, you can see. So I think that will do well for my sweater for quite some time. It's quite good, and obviously you can pile it up to here if you want to. Got my little leather handles. So I used, the pattern is the Noodlehead tote bag, but the small size. I'll endeavour to put the link underneath. A lot of people have made it. I was inspired for this from Sarah from Fibre Trek. She's made lots, and I thought I really want to have a go at that. So you can see and I had some of these Liberty Print fat quarters in my stash, and I thought they actually worked really well. This, got dog hair on it of course. This waxed cotton I bought from Merchant & Mills. I'm lucky enough to live not far from Merchant & Mills, so had a trip over there and bought this, and it was really reasonable, very inexpensive. So I've got some, I can make another one, but that one for now will do me. So that is where my 1908 top is going to be living. Right. And I think that is all my knitting and all the beers. So I've got a little variety. I'm going to keep this at a reasonable length. Obviously I took about 30 minutes talking to you about my knitting projects. So hopefully I will take an equal amount of time talking about my sewing. That's the plan. So first let's stick with garments. So another thing on my September list is to make myself another hinterland dress. So again, I'm sorry if I keep saying this, but you might remember that I made a hinterland dress earlier in the spring, and I used quilting fabric, and it's quite a wacky little one. If I can find and manage it, I'll put a picture up somewhere on the screen now so you can see the one I mean. But a lot of you who dressmake will know this pattern. It's by Sew Liberated. It's a very popular dress because you can make it in very many different ways, and you know, short sleeves, long sleeves, full length. You can have the button placket, you can leave out the button placket. It's all sorts. It's really adaptable, which makes it really good value as a pattern. And now I've made it once in my sort of my mock-up as it was, even though it turned out really nicely in my quilting fabric. I want to make one that's a little bit more grown up, a little bit more autumnal, so it will be longer. Not sure about the sleeves yet, whether I do long sleeves. As I say, I do tend to stick with short sleeves for the most part. But I have this fabric that, you know, I said I live not far from Merchant & Mills. It's a short train ride, and I went there with a friend in the spring, and I bought the oilcloth, the waxed cotton for my bags, and I also chose this gorgeous fabric for my hinterland dress. Yes. I was lucky enough for my birthday my husband bought me an overlocker, and for this kind of fairly heavy linen-y cotton fabric, it's a dream. It's a dream, I can tell you. So that's the fabric. So I might even this weekend be cutting out that pattern. I need to just make one slight modification. Where the bodice finishes is a little bit high for me. I'd like it just an inch or two lower. I'm quite long in the torso and shorter legs, so I'd like to make the bodice just a tiny bit longer, so I don't feel like it's riding up under the bust all the time. So that is one September project that I'm really hoping to get done. Next week, no, it's not going to be done by next week. I've got a couple of lovely trips out coming up. Next week I'm going for afternoon tea at the Ritz Hotel in Piccadilly, and that was actually a gift from Gary to me at Christmas, and it was going to be one of the first times we've managed to go out together since he first became poorly, which was just about the same time that COVID hit. But unfortunately this year has been really, really difficult, and we thought there's no way he's going to be able to manage a trip to London. So I'm actually, and you have to book in advance for the Ritz, as you can imagine. So I booked to go with one of my closest, oldest friends, Anne, and we're going up on Tuesday. And I had thought, oh, maybe I could wear my new dress. I'm not going to get this finished by Tuesday because I want to do other things too. But the following week, because, you know, like buses, there's nothing and then there's a whole load of stuff. Hannah and I, my daughter Hannah and I, are going up for a couple of days in London. She's got a couple of days off work. She wanted to go up and do some clothes shopping. I was more than happy to go not clothes shopping with her because she's a And she prefers to go clothes shopping on her own. She puts her AirPods in and is her own little world. And I shall go up and just have a lovely browse. We're going to go to some, hopefully to the National Gallery and a few museums. So we've got a couple of nights up there. So I might have this finished for then, because that's the middle of the month. You never know. Anyway, that's the dress. So that's on the list. So done that. I've got a quilt that I made, again, as a trial run, because I wanted to try the pattern, and then I was planning on buying a load of fabric specifically for that pattern. I'm very much having a love affair with Laundry Basket Quilts, Adita Sitar fabric, and her Cocoa Blue and Cocoa Pink collections I just absolutely love. But being quite good, I decided to make this trip. The pattern is called A Trip Around the World. It's a very popular, very old pattern that has been done, I'm sure, countless times. And I ended up using some Laurie Holt fabric that I had. I used Laurie Holt, her Calico collection. I had a fat quarter bundle of that, but I also, no, I beg your pardon, I had, what did I have? Fat quarter bundle, it's either that or a layer cake. And then I also had her gingham collection. So I stitched together my Trip Around the World quilt possibly about 4 or 5 weeks ago, before I went to the Festival of Quilts, which I went to in Birmingham, which was epic. Anyway, I've got to the point now, I've quilted it myself, and I am just sewing on the binding. So I'm going to show you that, because on my September list is to finish getting the binding stitched on. So bear with, it's just here, but it's quite big. So I'm going to have to stand back here. And this is my, I'm going to hoik it up, but I won't be able to see what you can see. So hopefully you can get the idea. I wonder if I could stand on the settee. You stay there, honey. Oh my goodness, this could end badly. Oh, there you go. There. So that's it. It's pretty square. And you can see it's Colours of the Rainbow, which I think is very much a sort of a Laurie Holt. I love her bright, cheerful colours. So, hang on, let me get down now. There you go. And I've backed it with this really nice navy as a neutral. And I found this, I bought this actually, it's extra wide. I bought it at the Festival of Quilts because I knew I wanted a neutral, but nothing too grim. And I think the dark, you can see I've done all the binding on this side. And what I do with the binding is sort of fairly traditional. Don't look, I've got a bit of a hiccup there. I hand stitch it on the front and then, I machine stitch it on the front and then I turn it over, hand stitch it down on the back. So I've done one and a bit sides. I don't know what's going on outside. You probably can't hear, but there's loads of cheering going on. I think it's from a local building site. But anyway, I think it's a combination of calico and ginghams. And I just think they're so cheerful. I mean, this is quite a summery quilt, isn't it? But it is lovely. So that, my friends, is this month's quilt to be finished. I have got another quilt that's just come back from the Long Arm Quilter. That sounds so funny when you say that. Imagine this quilting lady with really long arms. Mel, lovely Mel, who's quilted my Love Note quilt for me, which is going to go on my bed. So I'm quite excited about that. But again, I don't want to throw everything at you, but that needs, I haven't even made the binding for that yet. I only got it back Wednesday, this Wednesday just gone. So that's on the cards, and I have got other quilts going on, but again, taking it just a little bit at a time. Oh, you see the honey bear there. She's been sitting, but she's probably a bit unimpressed that I stood on the settee. There she goes. Oh, look. Down she goes. There. She tends to stay glued to my side these days since we lost Henry, which, for those of you who don't know, was Honey's brother. And we lost him a couple of months ago. They're both 14 and a half now, so they're getting on a bit. But, leading the right way, you can just see her curling up there. She's a cutie patootie. Anyway, right, it's not an animal podcast, is it? It's a sewing and knitting podcast. So let's have a look. I've talked to you about that. So I've got 3 more things just to show you, one of which is barely started. I've had it for a year, and this is the Pretty Fabrics and Trims mini sampler. I really don't know what's my hair. It's driving me nuts. The Pretty Fabrics and Trims autumn sampler. Now I've got summer done and spring done. I got those done when they were supposed to be done last year, but I failed on autumn. Just trying to find a picture that isn't going to give, this one. And these are just mini quilt samplers with embroidery stitching as well. And that's the autumn one, which obviously I need to get done pronto. So cute. I love that basket. And the jam jar, the pumpkins. And it's bound in Liberty fabric. So it's a bit of everything really. It's a really good starter if you fancy doing learning some simple embroidery and a little bit of quilting. These are great. This is pretty much the first thing I did actually when I started dipping my toe into this. I haven't shown you Luna, have I? Okay, have to leave Luna Lapan to next time. Another rabbit hole, pardon the pun. So yes, as I say, I've got summer and spring. I did those and I just stopped. I think I'd done so much embroidery at that point because I was doing, funnily enough, other embroidery projects. This is the box it comes in. It comes in a really lovely box, and then you get, basically, you get all the embroidery floss you need, and then all the fabric. Gosh, I haven't even unstuck this. Oh, that is so autumnal, isn't it? So that's for the little applique bits on the quilt. There's the batting and then the quilt backing there. And it's such a beautiful kit. I mean, look at those colours. I've still got, because I bought them all, because I wanted one every season. I've nearly finished Christmas. I nearly finished that when I first got it. I've got winter I haven't started. So I'll show you how far I've got with autumn, and I've literally dug this out yesterday. That's as far as I have got with autumn. And you can see the printed guidelines on there of the other pictures, the embroidery and so on. Hopefully you can see that. Again, I'm blocking my viewfinder, so I don't know if you can, but these are lovely. And I've got the summer one currently hung up in the hallway. And so I want to finish that this month. Okay, so accountability, you can nag me for that one. 2 more things, and they both kind of relate. I'm always late to the party. Always late to the party. If there's a party, I'll be there in about 2 years' time. It's just, 'twas ever thus. But I have recently been watching really sweet Emma in a Vintage Sewing Box, her podcast that she does. I've followed her on Instagram for a while, but I chop and change. So if I'm suddenly really into sewing, then I'll kind of not look at knitting Instagram posts, or if I'm really into knitting, I don't tend to look at sewing. I'm kind of quite focused, whereas at the moment it's probably equal with both. But she'd fallen off my radar, and then I saw she'd put up a post. She'd obviously been to Festival of Quilts, as she would, and she's doing a beautiful Quilt As You Go project. I've never done Quilt As You Go. I've never done most things with regard to quilting. And she also put me onto this fabric, Acufactum fabric, which is, oh my goodness, and I'm not going to spend ages banging on about that, but it is gorgeous. Where she gets it from and where I've now sourced mine from is a shop called Elmhurst Fabrics, and I will again put the link at the bottom. But I was looking at it and I put all these fabrics in my basket, and then they were all a mishmash. And on the website they've got them, they do them seasonally, so you've got spring pictures, summer pictures, autumn and winter and so on, and Christmas. And I thought, hang on, let's do autumn. This will be really nice to work on through the autumn. So I focused on autumn fabrics and autumn colours. I love little mice. Anything with little mice doing things is a winner. And also things like toadstools and fairies. I just love all of that, pictorially, as it were. So I decided to start doing a Quilt As You Go quilt. Now, I'm planning on taking a year to do this, and I'm actually tying it in with another project of mine, which is to lose some weight. So I decided, for various reasons, all personal reasons, that I wanted to lose a bit of weight. Again, those of you who've known me a long time know that I've been to Weight Watchers before, and that was very successful. Well, this kind of just basically the Weight Watchers thing has really died out. I think probably COVID did for it. So it's virtually all online now. But I like the way it's set up, so I decided to go with the Weight Watchers system again. So really it's about healthy eating and not eating the rubbish, but it's about consistent healthy eating and consistently not overeating. And it's so easy, you know, as I've said, we had a really, really challenging first 6 months of this year, and it was the last thing I was thinking about. And I wasn't stuffing my face, but I was also, we were just eating whatever, whenever we could. Gary was in and out of hospital. We had 5 emergency visits to A&E and admissions, and so it was all over the place. Anyway, now we're calming down, and so I decided I wanted to lose a bit of weight, and I thought, if I can be really patient and hand stitch and make a large hexagon hand stitch quilt that's taken me 18 months, why can't I transfer that patience and apply it to my healthy eating habits as well? Good question. If I could bottle that, it'd be a winner, wouldn't it? So I decided that I would make this Quilt As You Go quilt alongside my healthy eating journey. And I worked out how big, roughly, I think I want the quilt to be. It's not going to be huge. And then how many hexes I'd need and how I could relate that to my weight loss. And basically, I ended up calling it my quarter pounder quilt. So that each quarter of a pound I lose, I add a hexie to my quilt. And I'm going to do that over the course of a year and see where I go. It's a bit of fun. I'm not going to be wearing a hair shirt and sort of whipping myself if I don't do it. And I'm certainly not going to not finish the quilt. But it's focusing me, and it's fun because today, or this last week gone, I've got to sew together. It was my first week and I lost 1 3/4 pounds, which was more than I was expecting to lose because I'm still eating, you know, well, but I've upped my walking. And so I got to join, or I'm getting to join 7 hexies together for the start of my quilt. I've joined 3 and then I've prepared the other 4. So I'll show you, I'll stop talking about this now. So these, hang on, that way. So we've got, see what I mean about the toadstools and the fairies and the elves? That little snail, this little snail here. So there's that one. There's this one, which is a little baby something in a walnut shell. And then a fairly plain one. And you'll see that these are bound. Sort of, that needs that green needs reinforcing a little bit, but these are, and then the back are those. So I'm using Adidas Sitar fabric, her Earth Tones collection on the back, and I'm using a big stitch to hand quilt them. This is very, very much based on what Emma does on the Vintage Sewing Box. That one you can see I've used red. This one I'm sort of a yellowy green. This one I've got a pale green, and I'm just quilting them around the edge to hold the wadding in place. So the others I've got, this one, I won't hold, oh come on, hold it. I'm really stuck with my spatial awareness with this. Oh, there we go. That one with a lovely mustardy yellow back. This one, cute overload. Little mices with walnuts and sloe. Look at that. And then that's slightly more mustardy than that one. And then two more fillers. And these are all Acufactum fabrics. And the back is all Adidas Sitar fabric. And then this one, paler one, and I love that backing. So these are my 7, and I'm about to join those all together. So to give you, if I can give you a very vague idea of what it's gonna, it's not gonna be sort of Grandma's flower garden, but I will start off with a flower. So that's where I'm going to be at. So that's my first week. I imagine I'll only be joining, you know, maybe 2 or 3 each week as it goes, because it's a long-term project, as is my weight loss. But I just can't get enough of that at the moment. Just loving it. And I've got all my fabrics in this. I found this basket. A friend and I went to Tunbridge Wells to the Pantiles last week, and I found this in a antique bric-a-brac shop, very cheap, and I love it. It's shallow, so it's great. So I've got my Wonder Clips hooked on there, and inside I've got all the pre-cut stuff I've got ready to make. I've got my threads, and that just sits on the side. So that was that, and then I decided my last thing that I'm going to be working on, so that will be progress as we go along. Obviously that's not expected to finish, but when I spent some time with Jules, So Sweet Violet, and her lovely, lovely daughter Bryony, we were up at the Festival of Quilts at the same time, so we joined forces and spent quite a lot of time together, which was really lovely. And Bryony was working on a mini hexie quilt, and I think over on Jules' Patreon on So Sweet Violet, they do quite a lot of things like that. I follow her Patreon, but I'm not on the top tier, and I think that's where all the stuff goes on. But Bryony had this beautiful Liberty fabric mini quilt. Oh, I can't find the papers now, and the papers are sort of 1/2 inch, and I thought, oh, no. Having just finished my 1 inch hexie quilt, I was like, no. But clearly subliminally, they brainwashed me, or they hexie washed me. And when my friend and I were in Tunbridge Wells last week, we went to Pincushion at the Pantiles, which is, oh my goodness, if you live near Tunbridge Wells, and again, this is me being late to the party because I didn't know about it. She was at the Festival of Quilts, but I missed it completely. Her shop is absolutely glorious. It's so pretty. And she's lovely. Jenny, who owns it, was really helpful with some fabric I was trying to get. So that was great, but she had some packs of some mini hexie papers, and she had a sampler on the wall of a little wall hanging with a bigger hexie made up of all the little hexies, and I think it was probably about so big. That's my hexie. Oh, it's modern dancing. No, stop. And Sonia and I saw it and thought, yeah, got to get that. So we bought a pack of papers each, And I suddenly thought, well, why not use my scraps from my autumn quilt to do an autumn wall hanging, which will be done a lot quicker. So I started making up these hexes. When I say tiny, that's what I mean. So they're 1/2 inch. And again, I'm getting a bit addicted to these. And this is all scraps. I'm going to stick all the ones I've done on here. I haven't got a shape yet. This is my do-it-yourself design board. There. I've done all those little hexes. Hannah sat playing with them at the table the other day and said I was making flowers out of them, which was really pretty. But so again, I've got some of the neutral spotties. I've got a lot of these, or most of these are the backing, the Adidas Sitar back earth tones, because the patterns on the front of the Acufactum, isn't it, Acufactum fabrics are too big, obviously, to be seen on something this small. So yeah, I've got a load of ones there ready to glue based, and I think it takes 50 or 100 to do this particular wall hanging. So I'm hoping that will be finished this month. That might be a bit ambitious, but we'll see. It's not top of the list because I want to get the autumn wall hanging done, the pretty fabrics and trims. But it would be nice because obviously when something's seasonal, it's nice to be able to have it up as soon as you can in the season. Ah, right. I think that probably is about 1/2 an hour's worth of stitching. Let's have a look. If I told you, I've told you about the Love Note quilt, but I've not shown you Hinterland dress, Funhouse socks. Yeah, the other 2 things I want to do, certainly one of the things is I'm putting a border on my grandmother's flower garden quilt, the Hexie quilt that I've just finished with the Lynette Anderson fabrics. So this month I want to get the border stitch on. I've got probably it's going to be a 10-inch border around the edge of the Hexies before I then start to hand quilt it. So again, a very long-term project that, but I'm hoping to get that sewn on. That will be machine sewed on because I want that to be nice and solid. So I'm hoping to do that this month, and I'm hoping to cut out and prepare the pieces for the big Christmas quilt project that I've got planned, which is an Adidas Sitar quilt design. See if I can find it quickly, and also fabric. So I'm using her Noel fabric. Let's find this. Laundry basket quilts. Shop. The quilt pattern is called Montana, but I'm opting to do it in her Noel fabrics, which was last year's Christmas fabrics, which has been quite tricky to get in this country. Most places are sold out, but I have managed by hook by crook to get all but 3 of them. And then at the Pincushion Pantage shop I talked about last week, Jenny helped me choose 3 alternatives, 3 substitutes for the fabric I couldn't get. So the quilt is that. So quite a challenge. It's a lot of piecing there. But I think that will be absolutely glorious. I've done one, the Grenade quilt is with my long arm quilter at the moment, which was a lot of triangular diamond shapes as well. So that was kind of a warm up to this. I won't be sewing it for sure this month, but I'm hoping if I can start cutting out the pieces that I'll get everything ready, a bit mise en place before I start. So, and that, or those are my plans for September. Wow. But that's worked out okay. So that's probably taken, by the time I've edited and everything, it'll be just under an hour, which will be good because it means I don't get quite so exhausted, and I'm more likely to come back and report back to you. I must show you Luna Lapin next time. That was a, let me write that down, a rabbit hole, pardon the pun, that I had no intention of diving into, but was persuaded or enthusiastically rabbit washed again by Jules when we were at the stand, the Cool Crafting stand, which was amazing. So I came home and I made Luna straight away. Again, she's on Instagram, but I do have a few outfits for her. So possibly when I've made my hinterland dress, I might make a dress for Luna. So we'll have to see about that. And that's probably it. I'm not going to waffle on too much about life and the universe. I've got this beautiful, again, sorry, referring back to Instagram, but it's the only other social media I'm on. So, you know, that's where you'll find me the most active. I did a little reel, no, it wasn't a reel, filmed down to what we call the Wendy House, which is my little crafting hub or our quiet place at the bottom of the garden. And I've got some quilts hanging there, I've made some cushions, and I've got my table there where I'm planning to do some artwork. I did a class at the Festival of Quilts on jelly plate printing and monoblock printing basically, and I'm hoping to do some fabrics that I can work into a quilt or some project bags and to print my own. So again, that was inspired back to Sarah from Fibre Trek. So I really recommend watching her vlogs, her videos. If you don't, she has a beautiful aesthetic, and she, again, has a wide variety, a broad range of crafts that she does. I also am inspired these days by Kate from the last Homely House. That's it, isn't it? Again, late to the particular Kate party there, but I've got, and all the quilting she does. So yeah, I'm really enjoying those things. I won't talk to you about reading or TV or anything like that, because this is really my September list. If I come back in a couple of weeks, if you enjoy, if you like what you see and what I've chatted about, please do click a like or leave a comment, because dipping my toe back in again now, you know, it depends on the response to this as to whether I'm brave enough or whether I, you know, make the effort to come and do another one. Hopefully I will. Hopefully you'll enjoy this, and I'll be motivated to come back perhaps mid-month or when I get back from London to give you an update, and then certainly come October we'll be doing an October list as well. So that said, I'm going to go now. It's been great fun chatting. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. If you've got any questions, do leave a comment below. And yeah, I look forward to chatting with you again next time. In the meantime, have a lovely September. Bye.